And so, of course, these calls are always designed to be thought-provoking. It's an opportunity for us to pause and work on our business, not in our business. And my goal is to bring you higher level concepts, tools, resources that help grow you as a person, you as a business person, and your business in terms of your team growth. And so being able to being able to look at where you are and where you're headed, and to be able to have some tools that can help you get to that location faster. That's really what this call is about. So I'm going to lead us off with, let me just share this screen real quick. You guys can see my screen. You guys got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, of course, the last call we spent a little time on Gary Keller and his 13 ahas that he had from reflecting back on 2024. And we kind of took these a little bit slowly last time. I'm going to cover two of them today and give us an opportunity to really kind of talk and think through some of this. Let me make sure I didn't have someone else coming in here. Okay, good. And we're going to talk through these a little bit. And this month, I actually kind of spent a pretty good amount of time actually thinking about a couple of these topics. So we're gonna expand and a little bit mastermind around those. The first one, number 6, his 6th aha from last year, was peace of mind is a true treasure. So seek it and guard it against all challenges. Peace of mind is a true treasure, so seek it and guard it against all challenges. And as I just journaled on this and spent some time on it, I think a lot of high achievers, they chase success and productivity and at the cost of their own inner peace. In other words, they're chasing something that isn't really truly what they want. And I think Gary's reminding us that peace of mind is a true form of wealth, even more valuable than financial success, that inner peace that we can create. Now, I think life and businesses are full of challenges. And my team knows that I say often that there are always more obstacles than opportunities. And that's not to say that we don't recognize there are abundant opportunities around us. Just like a plane taking off, the plane takes off into the wind, and it's the force of the wind that keeps the plane from taking off. And then ironically, it's the force of the wind that then allows lift to occur. And when you look at net forward energy, you cannot you cannot get to takeoff until your net forward energy is at a factor of 9 or greater, which means if you look around your organization and you've got 5 or 6 people and 1 or 2 of them are not hitting their full potential, our business does not have net forward energy. So life and business are full of challenges. Markets shift, personal struggles happen, failures happen, and uncertainty creeps in. And I think Gary's advice on this suggests that peace of mind isn't just something that happens, it must be intentionally cultivated and defended. The third item that I made a note of is peace of mind comes from clarity. And this is where I think the power of a mission statement, your vision, your values, your MBBBP, which is actually going to be covered on an upcoming call. This is where this really matters. And it's getting clear on what you want and why you want it. And I know we say want equals lack, and yet in this terminology, it's what do you really want? What are we really aiming for? So peace of mind comes from clarity. Focusing on the most important thing reduces your overwhelm and your distraction, which can be a disruptor of your own internal peace. The fourth thing that I put is, this is around just your business application. For agents, peace of mind means not being in constant fear of the market shifts, lead generation struggles, or inconsistent income. Instead, it comes from daily disciplines, smart actions taken, and maintaining a long-term perspective. Okay, so those are a couple of thoughts that I have. Peace of mind is a true treasure. So seek it and guard it against all challenges. What else? What do you hear in that? What stands out? How does it apply to you where you are currently?
I really like this one, so I'll jump in on this one. What stood out, one of the things that you just said was, you might have to repeat it, having the longer vision in mind, or what was that you said?
Yep, you have to maintain a long-term perspective.
Yeah, long-term perspective. And I think like that's so relevant to everything in life. People freak out in the stock market. The last 2 weeks, everyone's like, oh, I'm down this and I'm down that. And I don't even, I laugh and like, I don't even look at my stocks because like if you're holding them for a long term, like what does it matter what they did today when it's not relevant to where they're going to be in 5, 10, 15 years. So I think like holding that mindset and knowing like there's a greater plan and a greater vision on a weird personal level, this one's hit.
Did we lose her? Did we lose Paige, guys?
Mm-hmm.
We were at the best spot.
Yeah, I don't hear
I
her.
think I just
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
My Wi-Fi kicked on. Where did I get cut off?
you're okay. You said this resonates in your personal life.
Yeah, so this resonates deeply in my personal life right now. I had never grew up really religious and well, like zero religion at all and don't really know much about it. But recently I've been finding myself like wanting to lean.
I'm listening to a Zoom.
And Paige, we lost you again, but it was good stuff. So I want to hear what you have to say.
Uh, I'm probably cut off like 100 times.
We lost you for a
Did you
minute there.
hear?
You said that
Yeah.
you grew up not real religious, but go ahead, repeat yourself. I think it was important.
Sorry to take you off. I'm like in my car. And recently I've been diving into and going to church every week and Bible study in like a woman's group, and the amount of peace that I have like found through that recently and just like have just been feeling very peaceful in a very non-peaceful time of my life or where I would normally be freaking out. And I don't know, I think like knowing that there's only so much we can control and then having the bigger vision and just letting go of it, in general, I think can just help so much, even if you take the religion out of it.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Great perspective. Who else heard something in that? And the question is, peace of mind is a true treasure, so seek it and guard it against all challenges. Toy, your peace of mind has been challenged lately. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. Totally different place than I thought I would be a year ago, but you can you just tighten up your bootstraps, hold on to your faith, hold on to your family, and go through the steps every day to get there, whether it's your real estate business or your home. We 4 months ago, we didn't even know if we'd be able to keep our home. Quite a few of the homes on our street were condemned. And we look to be moving in this weekend. So, I mean, that's exciting.
Good.
So,
That's
Good for you.
awesome.
Congratulations. That's definitely a victory and a win. Okay. So I wrote some questions to ask yourself in a couple of different areas of your life as it relates to this. The first question that I put down, and I will happily send these out to you guys afterwards if you'd like to have these, but I put, what currently disrupts your peace of mind the most? What is it that does disrupt or get in the way of you having peace of mind? What activities or habits bring you the most peace, and how often do you prioritize them? And Paige, to your point, it sounds like you've gotten a weekly rhythm of something that you found peace in, and you're engaging in it actively, and it's keeping that peace present.
Mm-hmm.
Another question I wrote is, if you knew achieving peace of mind was a requirement for success, what would you change about your daily life? Where would you have a different perspective? What would you, activity-wise, habit-wise, what would you do differently? Another question I put down is, how do you define peace of mind for yourself? Is it financial security? Is it emotional stability? Is it business success? Is it strong relationships? What is it for you? When it comes to your business, the question that I wrote is, what's the one area of your business where a lack of clarity or a lack of a system is creating stress for you? How could following a model, whether it be the MREA, a lead generation model, something from the playbooks, a financial discipline model, reduce uncertainty and give you more peace? And Leslie, I'm not going to talk about our conversation, but I know you said that you had great peace, that you had a plan, that you knew what was ahead in terms of the next chapter of your or the next chapter of your business and personal life. I heard that very clearly when you said that the other day, and it hit me.
Well, my
How
4-year
much?
plan.
Yes, your 4-year plan.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
We
great.
have a plan. Yeah, and I think we need to define it more as far as the steps that are going to get us there. We know what the end goal is and what are the steps that we're going to take, and how are we going to know that we've achieved those steps? So we need to that's something, Faith, we're going to talk about.
That's a great.
Defining it.
Awareness is the start of all change. So you know where you're going, and you know that you're focused on you know what you know and you know what you don't know, and that's what's important. And I think that goal setting to the now exercise from the one thing is really powerful, to really sit down and go, where do I have to be at the end of 4 years, at the end of 3 years, at the end of 2 years, 1 year? Where do I have to be at the end of this month, this week, and today, such that it creates that domino run and sets you up for success?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Here was one that ironically we're going to be talking about next. How much of your day is spent reacting to problems versus proactively building a business that runs smoothly? How much time are we working on our business and not in it? Yeah, I saw your face there. I feel the pain sometimes. I put the question, what's the biggest fear you have about your business or the market, and what steps can you take to reduce that fear? Because fear and faith, this is a new bold truth, fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. Then I think about, how do you guard peace against other outside challenges? So what boundaries do you need to set with your clients, with your work hours, with your commitments, to protect your mental space? Maybe what's one commitment you've made that you know that no longer serves your peace of mind, and how can you adjust that? And that process of pairing your schedule every year and just looking at, Gary says in the one thing, every yes has to be defended by 1,000 no's. And sometimes we get in the trap of saying yes to things, and then we end up saying no to our goal. And that's a slippery slope. So I think we have to re-examine that. The last thing I put is how do you handle setbacks or failures? Do you have a process for restoring your peace after a challenge? And, for some people, it's, bad vices. For other people, it's sitting in the yard watching the birds. I think that's a Leslie activity. I think for other people, it's going home and crying and getting it out. I mean, that we're all humans. So as I just reflected on this, what I wrote down is, peace of mind is an asset, not a luxury. It directly impacts our decision-making, our business success, and our personal well-being. And it must be pursued and defined. It doesn't happen on its own. It takes discipline, clarity, and wise choices to create it. Okay, so those were my questions I wrote. What stands out? What did you hear? Where did your mind go as I asked those questions?
So one thing I'll share on the last one that you mentioned, like, what do you do when you fail or you lose or you don't win? I heard an agent the other day share on her story, who's in our community, who does a lot of volume. And she said that she realized that winners are just really bad losers. And she, elaborated that really, like, winners are people who just lose and lose and lose again and just keep trying. And she's like, really, I'm just a big loser. And it was
Yeah.
the cutest, like, and it just stuck in my head. And I just thought that was really cool. And so I'm like, it's okay to lose and just keep going.
Well, if you can see on my screen, my presenter screen there, that I keep Gary Keller there. Someone the other day said, that doesn't even look like you. You have hair in that photo. And I'm like, that's not me. That's Gary Keller. But it says if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. And Gary talks about the fact that success is messy and that we fail forward. And to your point, Paige, when you see a successful person, you really are looking at someone who's failed and failed and failed and failed. They just kept getting back up. And in fact, at the CEO summit, when Gary talked about burnout, he actually said it's the curse of those that care, meaning that people that care about the results, people that care about their success, people that care about their business, that's who goes into burnout. And of course, he talked about how to avoid that. But it was the people that don't care, they just don't care. They go home, they sit on the sofa, they watch TV, and they're on autopilot in their life. And so recognizing that when that burnout like starts to show up, it's actually a reflection of how much you're passionate about what you're doing. And that's just that headwind I talked about, that net forward energy. So great aha. Anyone else?
I think I told the story when I was teaching the class. I really told this story. When I was in dental hygiene school, this is about failure again. This has been however many years ago, was I in dental hygiene school, like 40 years ago. We had got the end of our first semester and our final exam was in the clinic to clean one of the other students' teeth. And I think I got a C on it, which actually I think I got a D on it. I didn't do very well at all, but I actually learned exactly what I was supposed to be doing. We'd been going through the process, you know, do your fingers like this and hold the mirror like this and all this process and the method to do it, but we never actually did it. We never actually scraped any calculus off anybody's teeth until that day. And after, you know, the instructor went through that with me and said, look, there's stuff here, you were supposed to take that off. I'm like, okay, I was just doing this, you know, what you guys have been teaching us to do for the last semester, not thinking, yeah, you're here to take this stuff off of people's teeth. But after that, I feel like I became one of the best students in the class because I really, really knew what I was doing at that point. And I knew how to find the stuff that I was missing. And I really had always been an A student in every class that I'd ever taken. I don't think I ever got a D on any exam ever before. And that day, having the worst grade that I ever got on anything, I learned the most.
Wow, that's cool. That's a great story. And I'm sure the agents really appreciate that. I know we got good feedback from your teaching.
Yeah, thank
Good.
you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, let me go back to my share screen and let me pick up the next one. Okay, number 7, being true to yourself is the only true path. So know who you are and remind yourself daily. Being true to yourself is the only true path. So know who you are and remind yourself daily. What do you hear in that?
I think this could go back to like mission statement in a way, but more of a mission statement around like your morals and your values and your purpose in life.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. So here's some notes that I put down. I put authenticity is the foundation of success. People have a tendency to chase what others define as success, whether it's making a certain income, growing a team, or hitting a number. But if those goals don't align with who you are, they will feel empty and lead to burnout. And even at times where you achieve the goal, and we've all done something and got to the finish line and went, huh, I thought there was going to be more fanfare. And that may mean that we weren't truly chasing what we wanted. We were chasing what we thought somebody wanted for us. I put that Gary's point is being true to yourself isn't optional. It's the only sustainable way forward. And if self-awareness is a daily practice, then we live in a world full of noise, and it's easy to drift away from who we are and get caught in chasing what we think we should do. And I keep, you can't see it on here, but I keep the two things. Well, Paige, you've been to my office before, but I keep my mission statement on my door. So it's the first thing I see when I walk in, and it's the last thing I see when I walk out. And it's a reminder that my mission in life is to help other people experience their best life possible. And next to that is also the weeks of my life. And every week I put a black mark on that week, and it's gone. And it shows me how much is left. And you start to realize, especially having turned 50 this week, how short life really is. Because I thought 50 was really old, and surprise, it's like really young, actually. So remind yourself daily is the key. It's not enough to know who you are once. You've got to actively reconnect with your core values, your strengths, and your purpose. But the best leaders and business owners operate from alignment, not imitation. So it's about being in alignment with who you are. And I think that a great example of this is, I remember Jenny Wolick, who's a very successful agent in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and was one of Heather's best friends for, a really long part of life. She was talking with her coach about her lead generation. And she said, I know I'm supposed to be calling these expireds and these FSBOs, but I just hate doing it. And her coach looked at her and said, well, why are you doing it if you hate it? She's like, well, I'm supposed to. And he goes, no, you're missing the point. He goes, you have to have 3 or 4 or 5 lead gen levers, but you get to pick which ones those are. And of course, Jenny is a very social individual, and she went on to build a very large network of referral agents through the nation, through teaching, through her videos, by sharing her experiences, good and bad. And she's very authentic to who she is. Like who she is who she shows up with, like on camera and in her classes. So don't imitate, be in alignment, be authentic. I put knowing yourself allows you to filter out distractions, say no to misaligned opportunities, and build a business that fuels your life, not one that drains it. And I think we can all kind of relate to that. Here's some questions I wrote on this. Around knowing who you are, what do you value most in life and business? And how well are your daily actions aligned with those values? What are your unique strengths, and how do they show up in your business or in your leadership? What parts of your business or leadership feels effortless and energizing versus what feels draining and forced? Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm in a chapter right now where just my world has gotten very complex and just a lot of stuff coming at me. And I shut my computer off a little after midnight last night, and I was dealing with emails and just like the minutia of the monotonous stuff. And as I get older, I realize I get worse and worse at that. I can do it. It is a grind to do it. So, for me, that's something I'm going, how do I leverage this off so that I don't have that friction and I can have that peace? If you could design a business and life from scratch, what would you keep and what would you change? What would you keep and what would you change? And that question can be a service question. That question can also be a really deep probing question. And I'll share in my case, I looked up and had tremendous success in my life. And I, turned to the right and realized that I had just married the wrong person. I had picked the wrong relationship and had to make that tough decision of getting out of business, getting out of marriage with someone that was a fine person, that just, we were not aligned. And that came from that really reflective, long-term perspective of what do I want my life to be about? What legacy do I want to leave? Where do I want to live? Who do I want to be surrounded by? And I just realized that was never going to happen in that relationship. And by the way, those are tough decisions. I wrote some on staying true to yourself in business. I put, how often do you make decisions based on what you should do versus what truly aligns with who you are? What's one area of your business where you feel out of alignment, and what small change could you make? What lead generation or business building activities feel the most authentic to you, and how can you do more of that? And to Paige's point, staying aligned daily, I wrote the question, do you have a vision and mission statement for your life and for your business? And how often do you revisit it? And for me, when I understood, I fundamentally understood that we should have mission statements in business. And I don't know why it like that was intuitive. And my huge aha was when I realized that I needed to take my personal mission statement and my business. Well, first of all, it was an aha that I needed to have one. And then the fact that they should interlock. And so the mission for all of our organizations is transforming lives everywhere through real estate. And so I'm sitting here on this call having a conversation with you that's really an extension of both my personal mission of helping people experience their best lives possible, and our business mission statement. Here's one that I wrote. Who in your life truly supports and encourages your authentic self? And how can you spend more time around them? And Paige, I think you were saying that with your church groups. So a couple of notes I made on this. Success without authenticity leads to burnout and dissatisfaction. Self-awareness isn't a one-time discovery, it's a daily practice. And last, leaders, agents, and business owners thrive when they embrace their unique strengths and values. The best businesses are built from authenticity, not imitation. Okay, so that is number 7. What did you hear? What stood out? How can you use those questions in your own life to be true to yourself and remind yourself daily?
What stood out to me was definitely like the daily habits and your goals. The other day I read a thing that said, if somebody followed you around for a week, how serious would they say you are about your goals? And I'll be honest, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I don't think that would go very good. So I definitely struggle. Like, I'm good with the long-term vision and the ideas and like executing, but I need more daily discipline for sure, and not to get off track and get derailed.
Yeah, and that really, again, have you read the One Thing Page?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I have it, and I've read like the first couple chapters. Again, there's another good point. I was supposed to read a chapter every week, and I haven't. So no.
That's okay. Just read one page a day. Just like for 5 minutes, just read on a
Okay.
page, and you'll find that you'll get pulled in really quickly. I say that because the Gary talks about the fact that discipline is a myth. It's having selective discipline to bridge the activity to the habit, because once it becomes a habit, like we don't have to wake up every day and remind ourselves to shower or shave or dress or press our clothes or any of that. Like we're on autopilot on that because we've had enough selective discipline along life that now it's habitual. And so looking at what are those things what are those 2 or 3 things that if we made those changes, what are those 3 things? And then looking at just enough selective discipline just to make those 3 changes. And I also think that the other book, Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit, talks about your keystone habits. And for me, I know that every single thing that I do in my life aligns if I have one keystone habit of my bedtime. If I hit my bedtime, my life just lines up great. If I don't, it's a mess. So for me, that's my keystone habit. Okay, good.
That's good.
Who else
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else heard something in that?
I think having a personal and a business mission statement is something that I have not had. I've always had a business mission statement, a business vision, and kind of considered that was my personal one as well. But I do have different plans and goals personally than I do for the business. So yeah, you need 2.
You do need to. You are correct, because your business mission, your people in your organization are bought into that, and they're getting behind that. And again, people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And so, for you to be able to have that mission statement that connects with both your internal people and your external facing clients, That's huge. And then your personal mission statement, I always say it kind of usually dovetails. There's probably something about it that influences or informs your personal, informs your business, and your business informs your personal. That makes sense. Cool. Awesome. Good stuff. Do you guys like those questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Anyone else want to share? And I'll move to the next step if not. I see Faith, Toy, Phyllis. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next one. I'm going to share this screen again. So in the chat, you have a PDF and I send it out to you. If you don't have it, you can take notes, but you can grab it out of the chat and I'll be happy to send this out to you afterwards. At a certain point in success, you're going to find that all you're dealing with are problems, and particularly people problems. And so I want to talk to you about a model that helps take some of that friction out of the problems and the problem solving processes. And we've all had situations. I will just be honest with you. I have a vendor in my world right now that they needed an exterminator to go in and spray a property, and they can't get the refrigerator moved, and they're asking me what I want done about it. And I'm like 1,000 miles away from that location. What do you mean? Like, go solve the problem of moving the dead gum refrigerator. Like, why are you calling me? By the way, I'm paying you to manage my property. And after asking about 15 times what I wanted done, I finally responded and said, this is the biggest level 1 problem I've ever had brought back to me from a management company. Go Google that and then figure it out. I'm sure I ticked someone off, but I was just like, what is going on? So here's what I'm gonna do is you've got some fill in the blanks. This is from my leadership retreat that we did Q1. So there's 5 levels of problems, and to be able to create the language around this in your teams and in your business, and most importantly, to learn how to develop your people around you that can be level 3, level 4 problem solvers instead of level 1 or 2 is really important. So here's the fill in the blank. Okay, level 1 problem solving is the lowest level of problem solving, and frequently where you feel you're getting jobs back. And when I do my win, lose, and expectation dialogue, this is a conversation that I have, because when I delegate something, I know that people are going to have questions. They're not me, I'm not them. It's my job to articulate, but I don't like getting jobs back. And I will actually, the first time I get a little bit of it back, I will, I'll have a conversation. It doesn't bother me. The second time it happens, and I just know this about myself, I get irritated. And so in those win, lose, and expectations dialogues up front, I'm having that conversation. So let's talk about how this sounds. Level 1 problem solvers bring you problems, and they sound like this. Hey, the sponsor for the meeting or the event next week canceled. Which is when I want to say, and a lot of these sometimes is like, and at the end of the question. So I want you to just think about, when was the last problem that was brought to you at a level 1, and by whom? And by the way, it might not be someone in your team. It might be a vendor. It might be a lender. It might be a co-op agent that isn't solving their own problem, and they're bringing you the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, we're paid to solve problems, but we want you solving the high-level problems, not the low-level problems. Okay, level 2. And you can again fill it.
I was having a low-level problem. I wanted to print this so I could see it. Can you tell me what the answers were?
Yeah, level 1. Yeah, level 1. Yeah, is the lowest level of problem solving. It's where you feel like you're getting jobs back.
Mm-hmm.
Level 1 problem solvers bring you problems.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so level 1, stinky place to be. Let's talk about level 2. Level 2 problem solvers, though better than level 1, are still giving you jobs back. So level 2 problem solvers, though better than level 1, are still giving you jobs back. They're simply doing it with slightly more context to the situation. So context is to fill in the blank. This is how that sounds. The sponsor for the meeting or the event canceled, next week canceled. They have a family emergency that's come up and no one is available to fill in for them. By the way, in leadership, as team leader, like this is a reality that team leaders deal with. It could be a vendor, your admin on the team. Hey, this thing happened. A little bit more context, but still the problem is just back in your lap. So think about just, I think contextually, when you have an example in your head, you're better able to remember which level applies to which. So when was the last time someone brought you a level 2 problem and who were they? You guys had any recent experiences of level 2?
I'm sure that we have.
Faith probably has.
Sitting here and I'm thinking, wow, I must either not be very nice, deal with not that many level 1 problem solvers. So although I do know some. And then I'm also thinking to myself, I think my 3-year-old is a level 2 problem solver for the most part.
That's pretty funny.
This is
Go ahead. You're
keep
going to expand on
going.
that. Yeah. How are you going to expand on that?
No, I mean, she does come to me sometimes with a solution to her own problems. And I'm like, I'm having trouble seeing how someone can just come to someone who is supposed to be a superior with a problem and not even bring a context or consider a solution. And I'm just thinking about hiring in the future and how we look at people as problem solvers. That's all.
Yeah. Well, and I think so that's a great point. And in the career visioning process, we tend to be in the activity of going through the process, but not in the process. And when you start to really ask deep probing questions of, so, tell me, one of the questions in 30 questions is tell me about a challenging personal or professional issue that you've had and what were the steps that you went through to solve it. And go deep on those questions, really listen. And were they resourceful or were they resourceless in how to go find it? Okay. So that's level 2 problem solver. So we're still at the low end of this range. Level 3. Let's talk about level 3. Hello, I have 2 first pages here. Okay. Level 3 problem solvers have turned the corner from giving you more jobs back to supporting you in making a decision. So the fill in the blank is supporting you in making a decision. Level 3 problem solvers bring you problems. They do investigate the causes and they bring you possible solutions. By the way, are we feeling a little better about this? Yeah.
No.
Level 3 feels like there's not as much and attached to it, and yet there is still some. So let's talk about what this sounds like. The sponsor for the meeting or the event next week canceled. They have a family emergency that's come up and no one is available to fill in for them. I've looked up our vendor list and I've identified 3 other possible sponsors who are all available the day of the event. Ooh, hallelujah. Okay. Thank you. We have we've done some, I'm not having to do all of your heavy lifting for you. This feels a little better. Okay. So think about when was the last time a problem was brought to you at this level, but think about also how much you still have to decide. You've got to ask some questions. Okay, well, who are they? What's the context of the meeting? Who do you think is going to be the best speaker? How much time do we have? Can it even fit in? There's a lot of other factors at play here. Now, the thing about level 3 problems is this is really the basic level that you want problems brought to you at. You don't want to hire people and you don't want to work around people that are less than level 3 problems. And I say this with like love and appreciation for everyone. Sometimes even in a market center, agents show up and they're asking questions that you're going, well, Google it. I mean, I like that's a question for Google, and it's just funny. People just naturally want to, like, it's a natural thing to bring the problem. So we have to teach them at what level are you bringing me the problem. And again, in your teams and in your organizations, and I think even with Faith and Leslie, you know, being able to have dialogue around what level of problem it is. Hey, someone said to me the other day, I know this is a level 1 problem, but I actually don't know how to solve it. I'm in uncharted territory. And I'm going, okay, let's have that conversation. Okay, level 4, we're getting better. Level 4 problem solvers are not only taking weight off you, they've earned the right and have the problem solving skills to give their recommendations. In turn, taking the weight off of you to analyze the decision. So I'm going to say that again. Level 4 problem solvers are not only taking the weight off you, they've earned the right and have the skills to give their recommendations. And in turn, it takes the weight off you to analyze the decision. So here's what this sounds like. Level 4 problem solvers bring you problems, investigate causes, bring you possible solutions, and they give you their recommendation for the best solution. And how that sounds is the sponsor of the meeting next week canceled. They have a family emergency that's come up and they have no one else to fill in for them. I've looked up our vendor list. I've identified 3 possible sponsors who are all available on that day. Based on our primary attendee for this event, I think vendor A would bring the most value to the group. By the way, how did that feel, especially those of us that lead people? Hallelujah. Like, whoa, wow. Now, here's something that I really found, and I'm going to tell you that this has become tried and true in my world. I have found that I either need people around me that have high logical problem solving or people that have high spatial visualization. If they have low logical problem solving and low spatial visualization, they're great people. So it's not that there's something wrong with them. We just are not a match because I need people that can actually make decisions at that next level. I don't need more emails and texts and all this stuff saying, hey, this thing doesn't work. What do I do? Like, well, call the person that fixes it. Like, okay, that's my soapbox. And so this is again where in the career visioning process, you're actually understanding how are they going to show up and how are they going to answer some of these questions, or how are they going to bring you problems based on both the questions that you ask and their natural behavioral traits. Now, I say this from the perspective, those of you that have spent time with Heather, you know, she's a highly logical problem solver. And she calls it her computer brain. She'll just randomly ask questions. What was said about that? What happened over here? Like, wait, what did that go back? Okay. And then like 3 days later, she'll be like, oh, hey, I found the answer to what's going on. And here it is. And then it just turns out to be accurate. And that's an EQ thing also. I'm high spatial. I don't work like that. And high spatial people look up and they see it in their mind. And one of the examples that we had in our teams that in this same workshop, this, by the way, this exercise came from a class called Key to Be a Talent, and it's called Empower. So this is the class. Liz Landry teaches it. If career visioning teaches you how to get into business with the right people, Key to Be a Talent, the 3-part series, and there's a 4th one coming out, tells you how to deal with all the problems that are the common denominator in leading people and organizations. And it's brilliantly written material. I will say kudos to her on that. So I want her to have credit for this. But in the class, they tap out Liz made the comment, I'm telling them what to do and they don't see it, or I'm telling them what to do and they don't hear it. And by definition, and by the way, when she asked the question, how many of you have ever felt like that? Like every single hand in the room went up. Well, she said, let me do an exercise with you. And she tapped out this tune on the table. And there were about, I don't know, 70 of us in the room. And she said, what was the tune I just tapped out? Because she's like, I had it in my head. I know what it is. And I'm telling you what it is by tapping it out. Only one person in the room could even figure it out. And he actually got it wrong because it's the same tune to another song. And it's Mary Had a Little Lamb was what she tapped out, but London Bridge is Falling Down has the exact same rhythm. And so it was a great exercise in the fact that what we tell our people to do and what they hear are two completely different things.
I am sitting here listening to
And
our
so
partner on a Zoom meeting that
there you go. Okay, so think about those level 4 problem solvers around you. They're priceless, they're valuable, and we want to help them earn the right to then go to level 5 problem solving. And I think it's important to note that only after a deep amount of time, trust, like it's an earned process to move to the level 5. I still, for the first 6 to 8 months, I want people, if they're going to bring me problems, to still stay at level 4 because I want to understand how they think. Level 5 problem solvers. Let's move over to this. Level 5 problem solvers must be empowered and trusted to act at this level. They've earned the right. A level 5 problem solver truly owns the problems, the solutions, and the implementation of it. Again, must be empowered. Level 5 problem solvers, they bring you problems, they investigate. Level 5 problem solvers, they bring you problems, investigate causes, bring you solutions, possible solutions. They weigh the options, they implement a solution, and they are simply keeping you in the loop. So how they sound is the sponsor for the meeting or the event next week canceled. They have a family emergency that's come up and no one's available to fill in for them. I've looked at our vendor list. I've identified 3 other possible sponsors who are all available on the day of the event. Based on our primary attendee for this event, I chose vendor A because they would bring the most value to the attendees. I've already adjusted the team meeting slides and the presentation materials, and the vendor A is aware of the arrival and speaking time. I just wanted to keep you in the loop. Wow. Wow. How's that feel?
That's really, really beautiful. And there has to be an extremely high amount of trust for that to happen. And it's rare, I feel.
Yeah, so that's an interesting, yes, it is. And yet talent, again, when you're in the business of identifying and talking to talent on a regular basis, they're out there more than you realize. And the reason I say that is if you look around, I look at the group of team leaders and OPs that I came up with, like massively talented people, all had pretty much the same behavioral profile. And, there were, probably 400 of us at the time that were all at top of our game. They're out there. The challenge is having the lead flow of finding fresh talent on a regular basis that lets us A, identify them, and B, have the squid eye to be able to look for them, and then C, have the vision map or the opportunity map where you can plug someone in and maybe even park a talented person until you can move them into the right role. So it's, Diana Kokoska's husband talks about the fact, Tony Vasello, that if you want 1 in 100 talent, you actually have to talk to 100 people. So it's an aha. Now, I have a note in my book, and I used to have this written on my wall when I was a team leader, and it said, every time we say, I've got this, we rob our people of reaching their highest potential. And so us high achievers, we want to solve problems. We're like, give me the problem, I'll solve it, like I'll make it happen. And yet just like when we are raising children, we don't want to solve their problems. We want to help them solve their problems by making good choices and good decisions. We have to do that with our people. And that was a reminder to me that that was a reminder to me that I couldn't jump in and solve the problem. I had to stop and be the coach and ask the questions and say, well, what do you think you should do? And they say, I don't know. Well, okay. Well, if you did know, what do you think it would be? And what steps would you go through? And it's only when they get really off track that then you go, okay, hold on. Let's talk about let's narrow the solution field. But I think being able to have a conversation in your teams and in your organization, and also for people like you, Paige, who are growing a team and have a vision for what that looks like, being able to have had some of these conversations in advance lets you better prepare through the career visioning process. It lets you better set the stage or set the standards of your expectations and how you work. And then lastly, helps you better identify the talent. And the reality is, without a process of hiring talent, you are 1 in 100 chances of finding someone good. And I think in the world we're living in today, I do agree with this. It might be 1 in 200. When you follow a process and you do it right, it's probably still 1 out of 2. I've hired people that I thought were going to be great based on experiences they had and things that they had done, and learned afterwards that, hey, that I misread how that experience created this person. And, it's still 1 out of 2 at that. Okay. So that is the 5 levels of problem solving. We've got a couple minutes left. What did you hear in that? How might you use that? How might that language help you better navigate your daily world with the people that you work with?
To follow up on what we were just talking about, I think it like the last point goes back to like authorship is ownership. And it was interesting hearing like Leslie's point, and I do think it does take, trust. Obviously, it's your baby, it's your business, and you have to trust them to make the right decision for, everyone's best interest. But when I think of like hiring an admin or expanding a team member, like I'm kind of the opposite. Like I rather them make the decision. Like I already hired them, so I already trust them to some degree. Hopefully I've trained them and have systems and models, but like I rather not. Like just go make it. That's why I hired you. Like you're the talent. That's what you're there for. Like a marketing person or an admin. Like that's their brain, and their brain hopefully works better than how yours does. And that's why you leveraged it. So I'm like a weirdo. I'm like, don't even bother me. Yeah, just update me and like go do it.
Yeah. And that's, that is, I think sometimes that's human nature. Either you're a control freak or I just don't want to know the details. And I think, Paige, I think that's sometimes germane or applicable to different areas that we care about or that we have focus on. So while Heather and Ashley have been going through the rebranding of creating the Coastal Living Collection, which is the kind of the umbrella brand that it's Keller Williams, Coastal Living, and the Coastal Living Collection. And there's some reasons why that's an important thing to have 2 components. I got on some of those calls and I just said to the girls, I said, you two, I trust you. You're smart ladies. You're going to make good decisions. Send me the final product. I do not want to go through this. I don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
Like it ain't my thing. Other
That's
things.
a good point with different areas of life, because I generally am more of like a control freak in my life, or like to know what's happening in planning. But when it comes to, I guess I'm not when it comes to those things.
Yeah. When it comes to what color is the postcard for our 36 touch campaign that we send out, please, I don't want it. Just make the decision. Just make it look pretty and send it out. Tell me when we got a lead. Okay, that's good. Anyone else? What'd you hear? What stood out? What was important? By the way, Toy, all of these can be used in your husband's business also. I say your husband, your owner in that business also, so you can teach them how to have level 4 solutions.
Yeah, we work with a lot of vendors that, like you show up and it's like it was supposed to look like this, and you have to come up with a solution to fix it. But, if you work with them and you're kind and firm like Ken is, most of the time with his vendors. They actually fight to get on his job. So
That's awesome.
which, you know, like you're asking, I'm thinking if you find a level 5 person, they're probably going to be looking for a job pretty soon. So you might want to give them a raise. So
That's it. That's it. Yeah. That's where you keep building the opportunity bigger for them.
Yeah.
So cool. Awesome. Okay, good. Anything else for the good of the cause? And then I've got two quick things just to wrap up with. What would you like to, I have team building, I have mission, vision, values, writing your personal mission statement. I have the pathway to progression, which is how you set up each role so they know exactly what they have to do to hit the next role. Those are some of the future topics that I have. Is there anything specific that you would love to hear? And 5 levels of leadership. Leslie, that's on my list also.
Cool. All of that sounds great.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I love that. Last thing I'm going to just share with you, and this is really exciting. This has been, geez, I don't know, 2 years in the making, but Echelon Home Loans became officially licensed yesterday. We're still in the final stages of our very first loan originator that would join us, that would take over. And that individual has 29 years. She started the exact same year in the business that I did. She started in lending. I started in real estate. All of that has been local knowledge, local experience. So she is a very bright, very talented lady that I'm excited to be, possibly getting into business with. We're just at the final stages. I share that with you for 2 reasons. One, you'll have an in-house lender that you'll be able to lean on, that will be present, that will be training, that will be involved, and will be one of you guys. And then 2, of course, we're doing this so that we can create passive income opportunities for our agents. A part of my vision is that I want our agents to receive more in passive income from our ancillary businesses than what they pay the company, so that it costs you 0 to work here. And with profit share, you actually get paid to work here. Then we add on to it the horizontal income that exceeds your cap. So that's part of the vision. So you guys will have an opportunity to be investors in that company. It is not an MSA. It's not a JV. It is a from scratch mortgage company that we have the ability to go and expand throughout the Gulf Coast, throughout Florida, other states. It's our baby. The only caveat is the only actual owners in it, they have to be a KW Coastal Living agent. So it's for you guys. So look forward to being able to share more with you about that, but that's a victory. That's a win for us. So cool. Guys, I appreciate your time. I'm going to respect you and get you out of here on time. And do you want me to send out some of those questions? Does that add value? Great.
Yes,
Okay, great. I will curate those out of my diary and get those sent out to you. Guys, go have a great day and think a little bit about those questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Yes, you bet. Cheers.
Bye now.